All right, welcome back.
My name's Kelly.
And I'm McCarty. And if you're new here,
We are those history twins.
and we have qualifications to speak on history because we both have master's degrees.
We sure do.
So, believe us or don't. Always look at your own research. Anyway, we are very near 50 subscribers. So, I think we only need 3 left.
So send them to
your friends. Also, don't just subscribe, like and subscribe because apparently the likes are good and people need to know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so that people are down.
Yeah, I mean, honestly. Okay, so today I've been really obsessed with the measles and then in turn obsessed with...
I've been obsessed with the measles. Sounds like a band.
Yeah. Hit album. No, I've been obsessed with the measles and the outbreaks that are venturing around in... Remind me, I have to talk to you about that.
Okay.
Anyways, we have measles.
When I'm editing the video, I'll be like, oh shit, and then
Yeah.
I'll text you when you're upstairs and be like, can you tell me what you're going to tell me about the measles?
Yes, I will tell you.
Because she lives upstairs in our house, and I live downstairs, so we text to communicate to each other.
Or yell through the vent.
You never hear me because of the air.
But also now, because her bedroom is like on this side, but my stuff is like on that side. Like, yeah. I don't know. Anywho, getting started. So I've been thinking a lot about
I could
measles.
never go upstairs. That's too much work.
Silly. The measles and vaccines and everything. And then I was talking to my friend. We were talking about...
Whisper in my ear who? What friend? Okay.
And we were talking, and I made a joke.
Parched.
Me too. I made a joke, because people who aren't vaccinating against measles, and I made a joke, and I was like, Louis Pasteur did not die for you to not get the measles vaccine. Which, obviously...
Did he invent the measles?
No, he didn't, but also, he died 200 years ago. So, like...
You know what's so funny? I was talking about Louis Pasteur today.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
We were talking... Or that was yesterday. We were talking about raw milk.
Oh.
And I said something about Louis Pasteur did not die.
Maybe that's what I was talking about. Maybe I was talking about raw milk. Because that one guy at Olive Garden drinks raw milk.
Ew.
And me and Jacob are vehemently against it.
Yeah, that's gross.
Anyway, so we're going to talk about Louis Pasteur today, which, great guy. Love him. So he was born in He was born in 1822, died in 1895, so more like 125 years.
Sure.
So, he's best known for his discoveries in germ theory, vaccines, and pasteurization.
Could you relax?
These cats, I swear to God. And we can't even close the door when we're in here because
we don't have one.
None of the doors are under our house.
We took all of the doors off in our house because we were going to sand them 2 years ago and paint them, and that hasn't happened.
They're in the garage. Anyway, so he was born in France. He's the middle child of 5. So got that middle child syndrome. He was born into a family of leather tanners, which is fun because, they work a lot with urine.
Yeah, that's how they tan hides.
So weird. Early in life, he struggled academically, which is interesting considering what he goes on to do. But he was encouraged by one of his teachers to study, and then he went to the famous teachers college.
I cannot get comfy.
I know, I'm so out of control too. He went to the famous teachers college, École Normale Supérieure? I don't know, Kelly will put it up. I literally have no idea how to
It's probably French.
It is French. Where he earned his master's degree in 1845 and a doctorate in 1847. So while waiting for a teaching position, he worked as a lab assistant at the college. And while he was there, he studied optical activity. So looking at crystals and the different makeup of crystals and how they refracted light and how different molecular changes. I don't really know much about any of that. But that's what he was studying initially. And then in 1848, he gained a faculty appointment at the college in sciences. A different college, I'm so sorry. In Strasbourg. And in... Germany, France. Sounds German, but he was in France, so I don't know. Somewhere.
Isn't that funny if he was in Germany? I just did my German. Hildegard, next week's video is about a German too. But he's French, so it doesn't really matter.
I don't know. So he got that in 1948. In 1954, he got a faculty appointment in Lille, probably. I think it's also in France. And then at that time, he has a faculty appointment there. He has a lab. He's doing.
Is he a teacher or is he
both?
Okay.
Because he went to school to be a teacher, but I think he's teaching sciences. So I think he's also doing some lab work. A lot of research is done by teachers because then they're getting paid to do research.
They teach so they can do research.
Yeah, essentially. So this is when he starts working on fermentation. So at the time, it was believed that fermentation just happened because of some chemical reaction, like a series of chemical reactions, spontaneously. It didn't happen for any reason. It was just spontaneous, which is insane considering they were making beer and wine the same every time.
Right. If it was spontaneous.
If it was spontaneous, it wouldn't happen every time. Yeah, I don't know. So he was part of a minority of scientists who believed that fermentation was carried out by living organisms, which we know today that it is. So he was working on that. And prior, what were the dates? Joseph Lister.
Dates don't matter.
They don't, but
You can look up dates.
Joseph Lister. I was just thinking like century.
Sure.
Joseph Lister.
You can't get in that box.
He is like the father of anesthetics and surgery and all this stuff.
Jacob Lister. Have we talked about him
Joseph
before?
Lister.
Joseph
no,
Lister.
but I've read The Art of Butchering multiple times. So his dad,
I don't know what that has to do with anything.
that
But...
book is about him.
Okay.
His dad worked with microscopes. I don't know if he invented microscopes or he studied with microscopes. I don't know. But John Lister, like, could see bacteria and stuff. So he's one of the people.
He could see the microscope.
Yeah, he could see things in the microscope. So that's kind of why he started like washing hands when they're doing surgery and giving birth and all of those things. So he is one of the proponents of germ theory. And then like Robert Koch, John Snow.
Jon Snow. Yeah.
He's the one that did cholera. He studied cholera and found out why cholera is a thing. I don't remember what Robert Koch did, but they're all working on this.
I was going to say smallpox, but that doesn't. Just because it sounds the same
Maybe.
doesn't mean.
Oh,
Maybe the vaccine?
I think it was smallpox. Is he the one that was doing cowpox?
Maybe.
Anyway, so they're all working on this kind of at the same time, but separately. Independently. And so they're just kind of like building on each other. Germ theory is around, but nobody's accepting it. Nobody's accepting it like wholeheartedly. So, he's doing his fermentation. They realize that that's how it works. And at this time too, in 1857 he went back to the first school, the École Normale, I don't know, Kelly will put it, as the director of scientific studies. So he has an even bigger role in the research area. So his initial research was finding a way to fight the disease of wine, which essentially...
Alcoholism?
But also spoiling, because wine was getting spoiled.
Turning to vinegar.
Yes. Or like, and other things that were getting, like, spoiled, going bad. And he discovered that, again, the issue was coming from microorganisms. So he needed to find a way to kill those microorganisms so that foods and perishable liquids, and mostly liquids, they don't really pasteurize anything that's not liquids.
Cheese?
That starts out as a liquid.
Butter?
You shut your whore mouth.
Those are all pasteurized.
Dairy products.
Ice cream?
I will kill you. So that's, he killed the germs by heating up the liquid to a temperature that killed the organisms.
Question. So
Microorganisms.
Okay, so did they look through the microscope and be like, yep, there's the living creatures, and then they heated it up, put another sample, and said, yep, they're dead?
Well, I don't know that this is true. This is my thinking. They know that, I don't know if they do know, but maybe they've realized that boiling water makes it safer to drink. And since he knows about killing microorganisms, maybe he's just trying anything he can to kill them, and he's like, well, let's just put them on some fire and see what happens.
But they didn't, test, to see if their hypothesis was correct?
Well, yeah, because he realized what temperature killed the bacteria, or the microorganisms.
So they would presumably, with science, you would test it,
and then have somebody else
you would look at it, and then perform the heat or whatever, and then test the material again to see if the bacteria is still in there, and if it's not, heat it up longer. I'm guessing that's what they did.
I'm sure that's what they did. It didn't really go in depth about his scientific research and scientific
The scientific process.
Yeah.
Guys.
So he's doing the pasteurization, and they're like, oh, this is big, we're gonna name it after you. So he gets named after. Also, don't drink raw milk.
PSA. It's cold.
Don't drink raw milk. Just don't.
Will
Do you
you
want
die?
E. coli, tuberculosis,
Everything is
salmonella?
tuberculosis.
Dude, the amount of I got a new job and I started working in healthcare. I had to get a TB test, which is fine. But the amount of like informational packets I had to read about tuberculosis.
Really?
Nonsense. There was like 7 of them at least.
Did you read the I haven't finished reading it because
No, I haven't.
it's been in my room, so you haven't watched it. But
Exactly.
John Green has a book called Everything is Tuberculosis, and I saw a TikTok of him, and someone asked him, I think it was on like one of the it was like Josh from Mythical Kitchen. He's like Rhett and Link. He's on their team. He was like tying everything back. He was like, "Can you tie this to tuberculosis?" And John Green tied it to tuberculosis. Like 3 different things.
It's really just
that were completely random.
Yeah. So all of those things come from drinking raw milk. So don't do it.
Gross.
Just don't do it, because the risk is greater than the reward of having a good micro gut bacteria.
Like,
Because
just
you know
eat
where you
some
could
vinegar.
I was gonna say, you know where you could get that good micro gut bacteria? Literally so many places. You don't have to do it from milk. Boil your milk, guys.
Boil your milk.
That's what this title should be. Okay, so
I'll file that up here and put the title as Boil Your Milk.
although we're not really talking too much about milk, we're
No.
going to talk more about his rabies vaccine.
Rabies.
He invented the rabies vaccine. Okay, so at this time, he's also started looking into microorganisms being the cause of illness and disease, aka germ theory. So prior to this, throughout history for millennia,
Miasma.
miasma. I was just going to ask you let's say it all for the crowd. Miasma.
I love miasma.
It's my favorite thing.
It makes me laugh.
Basically means bad air, and it comes from Greece. So they believe
that's where the word comes from.
that's what. Yes, I'm sorry.
Miasma,
Miasma, bad air. It originates kind of. I love ancient history or ancient medicine. So I very much love a good miasma. But it means bad air, and at the time, like Rome, Greece, there's no sewer systems. Everyone's shitting in the street. Horses, people, like, it's gross. The place is disgusting. They can't even drink water because it's contaminated. So they drink everything with a little bit of wine or beer in it. Like, even kids. But the alcohol content of the beer was much less than it is now, so it was
fine.
It was fine. So bad air, and they're like, oh, that's probably why we're sick. Little do they know, it's feces everywhere.
Well, they also would be like, I remember like something about cholera. They kind of figured out that cholera was connected to water because there would be like, they'd be like, oh, there's
everyone
bad air
who
over
uses
here.
this fountain.
And then they're like, oh, maybe it's the water.
Yeah, because it was everyone who used
But
that.
they thought it was miasma.
The Jon Snow that's what
Jon Snow knows nothing.
he knows about cholera. Anyway, so they're miasma. They're also about the humors. Germs aren't real. Everything comes from just like bad vibes, essentially, and imbalanced blood, and that's where like you get leaching, and make sure you're hot and dry or cold and wet. Like there's like a whole chart about the humors. It lasted for so long.
It's like yellow bile,
almost
black bile, blood, and phlegm.
Yeah, there's almost no
Evidence.
And by almost, I mean there's none. So people just kept doing it despite it not working.
Like way back in the Greek times, like in the BC eras, they were doing the humors all the way to like
Germ theory.
the
in
CE eras.
18. Okay, so he is working on diseases, germ theory. He's not the first one to notice the theory. Again, obviously, we got those other ones that I mentioned. The big ones are the 4 that I mentioned. So, not popular. They still think it's because of miasma, and like weakness and an imbalance of individuals. So it's like, you're just
Touched.
clearly something's wrong with you, and it's your fault. It's your problem.
You're sick, you should go pray.
Yeah.
You should be more holy.
They're getting away from that now, but
I know.
yes. One of his
Is
earliest
this during
studies.
the evolution, or
No, because that's in the 1500s.
no, the industrial
Yeah. I
revolution.
think we're after that. Yeah, I think we're past that. This is about mid 1800s. Okay, so his earliest studies on the theory of the microorganisms causing illness and disease, he discovered that he was studying silkworms because silk was a like project that it was like really important for parts of France or whatever. So he looked into silkworms. He discovered there were 2 microorganisms that were causing the diseases and not just one.
That silkworms had?
Yeah. So it didn't really explain what the microorganisms is, but he discovered there was 2 of them instead of just one that he thought. And then this is around like 1860s, early 1860s. And then in 1868, he suffers a stroke and is partially paralyzed on his left side. This puts put a pin in his studies. Obviously, he's recovering from a stroke. There are also, at this time, there's a lot of unrest within the government because this is like the end of Napoleon Wars. Napoleon has just been, so this is until the late 1870s. So Napoleon's been overthrown. He had negotiated terms for a lab, and once they had to like renegotiate to get his lab.
Pasteur had a lab, or Napoleon had a lab?
Pasteur.
Okay.
So then he finally gets a lab. The government agrees to build him a new one, and he gets like a grant so he can focus more clearly into this idea. So then he goes back and he starts working on anthrax and fowl cholera, so bird flu, but not influenza flu.
So it's not bird flu.
Bird diarrhea.
Checks out.
Yeah.
Okay. The bird cholera, chicken cholera,
Fowl
cholera. Does that come? Is that the same does that still come from water, or does that come from chickens?
I do not know. I guess it'd be water. I mean, ducks and chickens and fowl are
Is
still
there a
the same
difference
water.
between fowl cholera and regular
Let's
cholera?
look it up. Ah. Well.
Is so itchy.
Oh, you know what's funny is the bacteria that causes the fowl cholera is called Pasteurella
Because he developed
moltocidia.
Kinda?
Whatever. The point is, he's got a bacteria named after him. Right on.
Can humans get chicken cholera?
I don't know. I'm not going to look it up because I don't care. They can get regular cholera. So, okay. So while he was working on that disease, he accidentally discovered vaccines. So Pasteur was working that. He's got petri dishes with the different microbes. He's got them out. He goes on vacation, and during that time, he realized the microbes had weakened, or it's called attenuated. So they've gotten weaker. At this time, they're not using like dead viruses. I think these ones aren't. I don't think they're dead. Like now, we don't use live viruses or whatever. These ones are still alive, but they're just really weak, and they're not weak enough to really do a lot of damage.
They aren't strong enough to do damage.
Yes, that's what I meant. So he, at the time he was like giving, so he would give a chicken the microbes, and then
see if it got cholera.
Yeah, these types of things. So then he comes back from vacation, and he gives those microbes to the lab chickens. Yes.
How do you know? This is going to be a little graphic. How do you know that chickens have cholera? Because all chicken poop is diarrhea.
Cholera probably isn't just diarrhea in chickens.
Okay, that's all. You don't have to Google it. That was just my question. Maybe they just die.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, it is zoonotic. Anyway, so he's giving the chickens the thing. And at the time, I think he's still just trying to figure out what is giving them. So he's still like determining the microbes. So he gives the chicken those attenuated or weakened microbes. The chicken doesn't get sick. And he's like, okay, what if I give him this one? That's like fresh, virulent? Yeah, culture. So he gives him chicken, a new culture that's active and healthy and whatever. Chicken still doesn't get sick. And he's like, oh, prior exposure. And at the same time, I don't know if it's exactly the same time, somewhere in this time frame, I think it's Robert Koch. He's doing the same thing with cowpox and smallpox. Where if, like, the milkmaids who had already had cowpox were not getting smallpox. Sorry, I just have to know.
His last name is probably Cook.
Koch.
Yeah, sometimes that's pronounced Cook.
These damn Germans. Cowpox. I need to know if it's him. Is it? No, Edward Jenner. I am a dirty little liar. Sorry, so let's throw him in the group of people. Anyway, they're kind of all doing the same thing. They're all discovering it individually. So he is like, I wonder what else I could do this with. So he decides to try it with other ones. He took a weakened anthrax virus.
I didn't realize that anthrax was a virus.
Yeah, it's scary.
I just thought it was a white powder.
I don't know about that. But yeah, it's a virus. So he gives anthrax. That's why it's so contagious.
I don't know what I thought. I don't know.
So he gives the weakened anthrax. He gives it to he uses it to vaccinate sheep and other animals. I think it was like 24 sheep, a handful of cows, a couple goats. So he used the vaccine. None of them get sick. So in 1881, in a public demonstration at Pouilly de Fort, I don't know, French, he gave 2-part series of the newly created anthrax vaccine. So he gave, and this is in front of a whole crowd, in front of other scientists. I think it was during the World Fair-ish, something like that. So he gives 24 sheep, 1 goat, and 6 cows the vaccine. And this is on May 5th. And then he also has a control group. And then on May 17th, he goes and gives them, okay, I'm so sorry. He gave them a 2-part series, one on the 5th and one on the 17th. And then the control, he obviously kept unvaccinated. So then on the 31st, he gives all of the animals.
Like 2 weeks later.
Yeah, about that. He gives all of the animals the real live, like, virulent culture of the anthrax. On June 2nd, so it gives it time for the incubation. June 2nd, the crowd comes back.
It was just the anniversary recently.
Too bad it wasn't like measles vaccine anniversary. That'd be funny. So they all come back and they see that all of the vaccinated animals are alive, and all but 4 of the control animals were dead, and then 2 died later in the day, and then the 2 that remained alive were swollen and feverish. Oh, I'm so sorry. 3 of them died later in the day, and 1 of them was swollen and had obvious signs of infection. So then, obviously, that's a success, and other people are going to be, like, testing this, and, you know, scientific theory, more than one person has to, but he's done the groundwork, and other people, or whatever, or they're testing it on different strains, all of that stuff, and they realize, like, this is real. So then, he moves on to rabies, to working on rabies. Apparently, rabies was,
a huge problem.
It doesn't even seem like it was a huge problem. Rabies is not that common, and rabies bites. That's because people are afraid of it, because once you get it, you die. Like, once you start showing symptoms, you're already dead. And I think people have always been scared of it because it's a neurological disease, and so, like, that's creepy.
It's probably weird. A scary thing to watch.
Yeah, because then you're, like, hydrophobic and weird. I don't know.
Foaming at the mouth.
Yeah, but it is quite rare in humans. This led to a new obstacle: is rabies cannot be cultured in a lab. So rabies can only, I don't know. It needs to have the animal vector in order to, like...
Maybe it needs warm.
Yeah, and they weren't able to... Well, you can warm an incubator. Blood. I don't know what they need, but it needed... I don't know if today is different and they can. Probably, I don't know, new things. But at the time, they couldn't be incubated in cultures. And they also couldn't, like, specifically find which microbe was causing the rabies. So then, he's working with the thing, he's taking the rabies vaccine, or he's taking the rabies, like the rabies virus, and he's getting it from rabbits in their, like, spinal cords, and things like that. And then he takes that, I don't know if he, like, does something with it, or if he just gives that straight to, the other animals that he is working on. So he started with monkeys and rabbits. So then he would take the rabbits that have the rabies. I don't know where he got the first rabies. Did he know a rabies animal?
Did he know a rabies animal?
I don't know. We don't need to go in that far back. But vaccine. So he's doing this with a colleague, Emile Roux. The vaccine was successful after they had given it to a dog that had been bitten by a rabid animal. So he's already been exposed to rabies. And that's, even today, you can get the rabies vaccine if you've been exposed to rabies, and it will get rid of the rabies that you potentially could get. But once you start showing symptoms is when
there's no going back.
There's no going back. Okay, so on July 6th, 1885, a woman comes to Pasteur, and her 9-year-old little boy was attacked by a rabid dog, a known rabid dog. His name was Joseph Meister.
The dog.
Yep. Joseph Meister. And they haven't tested this enough. They've tested it on like a few dogs. They haven't really been testing it. Obviously they haven't tested on humans. They haven't really been doing too much. It's like brand new. But on July 6th, 1885, him and Emile Roux, whatever. I think he's part of it too. They decide, we're going to try it, because what's the worst that can happen? So they give the little boy his first dose, 8 p.m. on the 6th, and then he's given 12 more doses over the next 10 days. At this point in time, it's a 4 series, and it's within, I think it's like, I don't know, I haven't had it done, my friend did, but I think it was like within a couple of weeks. So it's very similar to the rabies.
So now you take 4.
For a series of 4 shots. Okay. And apparently they're rough.
I've heard that they're rough too.
Yeah. So then, and he is totally fine. He gets, and again, this just mentions again, that he had gotten the first vaccine.
The kid, Joseph.
Yeah, he got the first vaccine, and then it says that Pasteur got it from spinal cord of a rabbit 15 days earlier. But the boy lived. The rabbit died, so I don't know if he killed the rabbit or if it died on its own. That's something I'd be interested in. Anyway, the success of this, with the success of this, people lined up around the world to get this vaccine.
These were the first vaccines to be made?
Yeah. Like, I think rabies was probably, you got the fowl one and anthrax, but I think rabies is the first one to, like, disseminate widely because people are so scared of rabies.
And smallpox and cowpox are those? Or are those around the same time?
I don't know. I think so.
That's right, if you don't know.
No, that's even earlier. Research started.
So they already knew that it could happen. They were just...
I don't exactly know. Yeah, I think they've already started it. It's just in small pockets, and maybe it's not, because it looks like this happened in 1798. So it's about...
Well, it's probably a little bit harder to disseminate information than it is today.
Yeah, so it's not like he could just go read the article. They're all kind of doing this independently. But anyways, they even created a designated vaccine center at the school that he worked at, the École Normale or whatever. The success also helped creation of the Institut Pasteur. So he got a lab and his own like little institution. But mostly that's kind of it. He worked on other things, but these are kind of like the big ones. I mean, like, rabies vaccine is pretty large. Pretty large. Also, I saw an article. I didn't read the whole thing, but I want to be honest, I just read a little bit of it. But they were giving treats or like throwing out little bits of food with the rabies vaccine in it out into the wild for like wildlife to try and prevent some prevent rabies in some wildlife.
Will that work?
I don't know. I didn't read very much into it. So, and obviously the study is still going on, so I don't know, but that would be so cool.
That's interesting though, because like,
well, they used to put the polio vaccine on sugar cubes.
That's true. It just seems because most of the time you do a vaccine, it's through your bloodstream, so it's weird that you would be able to ingest it.
Well, like I said, polio vaccine.
Well, I know it just doesn't. It doesn't compute. Like, I would much rather get a flu shot if I could get on a sugar cube. Sugar cube.
You can get a nasal spray.
Can you?
Yeah. It's not fun.
Oh. I wouldn't want. I don't even like using like Flonase.
We also.
Because I feel like I'm drowning.
Dogs. I don't know what's up.
Interesting. Okay, sorry about that. Our camera, or like.
My phone.
We're low key, so we're just using our phones right now. But
ran out of storage or some shit.
It randomly said you've reached your allotted timing. So.
Which is weird because we've filmed videos
longer than that. So.
But anyway, we're probably gonna get a camera and then put these on. We don't have time on our phone anymore.
Anyway, so what we were talking about
is nasal
vaccines.
We also I used to work in vet med, and they have a nasal kennel cough, which is so hard to get to talk.
Don't think that I would be able to do a nasal one. I can't use Flonase because it makes me feel like I'm drowning, and I also can't use a neti pot because it makes me feel like I'm drowning. Like, logically, I know that I won't, but I feel like I'm gonna die when I do it.
Yeah.
So I don't think I could get a nasal spray, a nasal vaccine. I'll just continue to get a shot. But
yeah,
that's interesting. I didn't know that you could. I didn't know that about the polio vaccine that they used to put on sugar cubes.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the doctors I used to work with, and Dr. Phil, and he was telling me all about it.
I don't think you should say his name.
Can you cut that out?
I'll cut it out.
Cut it out. A doctor. Nobody will ever know.
Well, I don't know.
I know. We'll cut it out.
HIPAA.
He was telling me about something that happened 100 years ago about his polio vaccine. Anyway, they lined all the kids up in the cafeteria, put polio vaccine on the sugar cube, and they all ate it.
Interesting.
That is interesting. Also, I think this one is really important because go get your vaccines and vaccinate your children. Measles is everywhere. There's over 1,000 cases and it's in 35 states.
And it's been eradicated in America. So there's no reason for us to have
60 years we've had the measles vaccine, and measles was not around for most of them. They maybe had 10 cases a year, and now we have over 1,000, and it's coming.
I don't want measles. I don't know what happens with measles, but I don't want it.
You can't get measles because you've been vaccinated, and it's 97% effective.
Okay, then I rescind my... I take back what I said then.
And also, guys, measles, mumps, rubella, you get that, even if just one dose, it's 93% effective. So if you don't want to get 2 of them, just get one. And you can get it as young as 6 months if it's like extenuating circumstances. And then you can get the second one in 28 days. So I've been to 2 lectures about measles. I'm very passionate about measles. Just get your vaccines. Measles, right now, measles. But also, there's a ton of tuberculosis in Kansas randomly.
Nice.
But
I don't think they have a vaccine for tuberculosis, do they?
No.
Anyway, that's all I have. Do you have anything? This was your video, so
I don't have anything else except for
get your
remind me I need to get a Hep B vaccine. Yeah, get your vaccines. Louis Pasteur is awesome. Maybe I'll do another video about some of the other scientists that were going on.
Well, maybe you could just do like a medical series, like historical medicine series.
Historical doctors and new found medical breakthroughs, what have you, because I really do love that.
My next, for some reason, recently I've been really into Russia.
Same.
So I've read 2 books recently. Well, I'm finishing. I'm like halfway through one, but 2 books about Russia and the Russian dynasty. One was about the Romanov sisters or siblings, and one was about what I'm reading right now is Catherine the Great. So I think my next video is going to be Alexandra.
Nice.
Anastasia.
I was gonna say I think Alexandra might be one of her names.
The Alexandra is the mother. So I think I'm gonna talk about that next. Do you have any idea what you're gonna do next?
Well, now at this point I want to do Joseph Lister because I'm obsessed with that book, The Art of Butchering.
Nonfiction.
The butchering art. Yeah, it's nonfiction. I can't remember who wrote it, but my friend is reading it right now.
I was gonna say, it used to be right there.
I know. I loaned it out, so when I get it back.
What friend? Jacob. Okay.
I lent it out and if I'm gonna do that book, I want to have read it again.
I also saw a book earlier in our to be put away pile / the pile of books that we've read and then we just never put it back on the shelves. Where'd you get that fetal alcohol syndrome book?
Oh, it was on the table at med school.
And they just gave it to you?
They had a bunch of free books. It's kind of outdated, but I was like,
is that why you have the one about the Bronx?
Yeah. They were free.
And
they seemed really interesting.
Why are we reading
one of them,
about the Bronx?
One about the Bronx is a sociology study, and the other one is about fetal alcohol syndrome, and I was like, that sounds interesting. And it wasn't like textbooky. I don't know. Oh, I wonder if they got them from one of the people. So many people died while I worked at the med school. So maybe they got them from one of the
like from their
from
personal
the
libraries.
faculties, yeah.
But-
Anyway, that's all we have. I'm gonna go
like-
and
It's cold in this room, so I'm gonna go get my jammies. But like and subscribe. Submit.
I don't know where we're at when you.
I don't know why I said submit.
I think this one is going up tomorrow, but
This one I'm gonna try and edit tonight and put up.
but we're at 47 subscribers. Get to 50. I think that'll be so fun.
Yeah.
Also, follow us on TikTok,
Yeah, we have a TikTok. It's called Those History Twins. We try and post
on
shortened-
Spotify.
shortened, just like the interesting bits.
They're all interesting, but like the most interesting.
I tried to get it to be like I tried and edit it down as good as I can, but you know, sometimes they're hard. But yeah, like and subscribe. Go over, follow us on TikTok. Spotify has most of the episodes up, if not all of them.
I think it has. I think last week's is the only one that's not on there.
Okay.
And it's just Those History Twins on Spotify.
Yeah, on all of it, it's Those History Twins. We just have TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify. We don't have anything else. But yeah, so go follow us there. Like and subscribe. Send us to your friends. Do all the things that
Comment
you do.
topics you want, because it's hard to narrow down what topics we want to talk
I think
about.
that's what I was gonna say when I said submit. But yeah, so if you have any ideas that you want, or you have any topics that you're interested in, submit those ideas into the comments. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Anyway,
Bye.
bye.